It's just a public service announcement. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ho. H to the O.
Alright, sports fans, we're back with another episode of Pro Sports Takes, and since we're in the midst of the playoffs, we're going to talk about the 2021 playoffs, and we're talking about a team that could possibly win a playoff series that many people aren't thinking about, and that's the Washington Wizards, who are well equipped to return to the Eastern Conference playoffs. And I know everyone's probably like, yeah, that's not hard to do in the East, but not only will they make it to the playoffs, but this motivated squad will win a series in a very deep Eastern Conference. The Wizards were one game away from 50 wins and the Eastern Conference Finals in 2016-2017, with a weaker core that featured a young Kelly Oubre, Marcus Thornton, Jason Smith, and Jan Mahimi, and the worst possible version of Trey Burke, not like the one that you're seeing play for the Mavericks right now. But they found a way to put together a special season. And right after that season, Wall was listed to the All-NBA team and received the legendary Supermax that maybe only 15 players across the NBA landscape has. And since then, Wall has missed a ridiculous amount of time. That cost him 2 years of his prime, which he wound up tearing his Achilles in the most Washington sports way imaginable. However, speeding up to now, Wall played in 73 games over the last 3 seasons. But this could have come as a pleasant surprise, not because they wasted money on a player or because they wanted him to get hurt, but it led to long-time and incompetent GM Ernie Grunfeld getting replaced with Tommy Shepard, who's already made a better selection value-wise than Grunfeld has in his whole tenure with Rui Hachimura. And the Wizards got to focus on the future after being able to let go of veterans like Markieff Morris, Marcin Gortat, and Otto Porter, even Thomas Satoransky, to give a franchise a new start with players like Bertans, Rui, the 4 guys from the 2018 draft class, and Troy Brown Jr., Justin Robinson, Mo Wagner, and Isak Bonga. But most importantly, Thomas Bryant, who averaged 20, 10, and 2 blocks against the best team in the league during the bubble after missing a portion of the season with injuries. The Wizards have good enough pieces that they just need to resign Bertans and get a rim protector in the draft that can help transition Bryant to the 4 and Rui Hachimura to the 3. With all that said, Scott Brooks enters the contract year, so expect him to give everything he has to remain in the nation's capital and finish the business that he started. Scott Brooks is a highly acclaimed coach, even at a relatively young age, when he coached all-world players like Russ Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, so he's tasted success. And all in all, Wall and Beal know this could be the end of the road for them being teammates. Whether Beal gets shipped off for a boatload of assets and Wall gets moved as more of a cap casualty, this combo has talked repeatedly over the past 2 and 3 years about their brotherhood and the excitement that they have to take the court again. And you got to expect John Wall to come back with a ferocious mindset. And fans can't forget how the media was coming at him for being overrated and how his career was going to be over because he's only an explosive player that relies on his speed. On top of all this will be the first time John Wall's played a game since his mother died. So he openly talked about what this season means to him, and the speedy star is not only in the best condition of his life, but he's the healthiest he's been in half a decade. With John Wall being as healthy as ever, and the evolution of Bradley Beal, this team can make noise if the young players continue to improve. If the Wizards can find a way to be successful in the best Eastern Conference I've seen in my lifetime, especially with the Nets bringing back Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving back into the fold, you can see the nation's capital becoming a hotter commodity among free agents and truly becoming the big market team they should be. I'll give an additional hot take from now that the 1 through 8 seeds in the East has the ability to be better than the West, depending on what Warriors team we see next season. That's how deep and exciting the NBA truly will be next year. And maybe it's because the lottery changes or the franchises heard about our future draft projections from last episode, but the competition is about to be the best we've ever seen, and the Wizards have a chance to really upset somebody or really establish themselves as a good franchise in the 2021 playoffs. But to every take, there has to be a counter argument. And this is a new section of Pro Sports Takes that we're going to start doing every episode. We're going to make our hot take, and we're going to talk about a counter argument that could kind of dethrone what we just said. And when it comes to the Wizards being or beating a team in a playoff series next year, it's just the fact that I'm not completely sold on Scott Brooks. I don't think he's a very good coach, and one of the biggest signs is that his teams never play good defense. That's a sign of not buying into your coach's system and not giving everything you have for the team, which is one of the coach's most important jobs. What Bush can do is generate offense, which he provided over the last 2 years, turning lowly Wizards team into somewhat of offensive juggernauts behind Bradley Beal. Maybe not juggernauts, but top 10. And on top of that, the worst case scenario for the Wizards is Wall or Beal goes down or Beal even requests a trade. Then the franchise will be back to being bottom dwellers. The Wizards were one of the youngest teams in the bubble this year, so this team is relying on those young guys progressing and reaching the next level. And if the bubble really shows something, they may or may not be up for that task.
Yeah, man, that's the main counter argument, is that Scott Brooks hasn't really proven much, especially in DC, and the East is looking like a beast next year with the Nets getting healthy, as you touched on, and the team we're talking about today getting their star point guard back. People are quick to forget about DC rising, but they're going to be a problem and another threat in the Eastern Conference this upcoming year. John Wall is obviously the key here, as he's one of the best point guards in the game when healthy. And he actually said on the All the Smoke podcast, I think it was, that he's been playing with bone spurs for the last few years. And even with that, he's one of the fastest players from coast to coast and has the best spin move in the game. Plus, because he was out for so long, it was actually a blessing in disguise in some ways, as it allowed Bradley Beal to develop into one of the league's most prolific scorers, as he's now in peak form as well. So with those two healthy, that's instantly the best backcourt in the East without a doubt. Then beyond those two, you got Rui Hachimura and Troy Brown, who are likely going to improve, and they just need to re-sign Bertans and add another key player this offseason, and then they'll really be a legit contender. So I don't hate your take at all, and I'm actually going to add on to it. But make no mistake about it, the Wiz are absolutely facing a make-or-break year in 21. If they don't make the playoffs, Beal's probably going to get traded. Wall will probably have suffered some kind of setback or other injury and now have a complete albatross of a contract, and Scott Brooks will be the first coach fired in the offseason. They'll go and rebuild around Rui, Troy Brown, and their 9th overall pick this year, and likely the 1 or 2 young prospects they land in exchange for Beal. But I'm optimistic about the Wizards next year. I think they're coming in with something to prove, and you mentioned it about John Wall and his mother, and they really just have to improve their last-ranked defense, which an extremely athletic point guard that John Wall is will definitely help with. And I really believe their new GM will make an addition on the interior to improve that part of the defense as well. And with a healthy Wall, a quality rookie season from that 9th pick, growth from their 2 main prospects now, and a solid defensive addition or 2 in the offseason, I'm joining you in making the bold prediction today in August of 2020 that the Washington Wizards will not only make the playoffs in 2021, but they will be victorious in a 2021 NBA playoff series. We know it's shaping out to be a highly competitive Eastern Conference, which makes this hot take close to boiling, especially with their 30th ranked defense from last year. But John Wall will have been fully healthy for about a year by the time the season actually starts, and Beal still has the same skills that helped him put up 50 points in back-to-back games earlier this year. So just give them that defensive-minded forward or big man, and I could really see this team shine in 2021 and surprise everyone next year, just like the Miami Heat surprised everyone this season.
Yeah, so I mean, the Wizards have a lot to prove. Not only does John Wall, not only does Bradley Beal have a lot to prove that he can do it with another superstar, but Scott Brooks is on the last year of his contract, and he really needs to pick up the pace if he wants to be a long-time NBA coach in this league. The Wizards GM is also in his 2nd year after being under Ernie Grunfeld for a long time. And the Wizards really have a chance to upset a team, so don't sleep on this team next year. Really pay some attention to them in the offseason and some of the moves they make, and we'll see if they can do what we say.
Yeah, so that's our non-playoff team to make some noise next year. Obviously, everyone, can envision the Warriors being that team in the West, but we're going with the Wizards in the East, and that is what we believe that they can achieve next year with a healthy John Wall. So lock it in. That's our take for the day, and you can find all pro sports takes on prosportsoutlook.com, or even better, if you're already subscribed to Pro Sports Outlook's YouTube channel.
And that wraps up this episode of Pro Sports Takes. And remember, we encourage everyone to go ahead and leave comments about the player or even the team you want us to discuss. Tweet us at PSO_sports or simply use the hashtag Pro Sports Takes. And we'll continue to monitor what's hot so we can give it a spot on our future show.
So we'll see you next time.
Until next time.